What is good, everybody? Welcome to Stats and Cohn here on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. He is Grant Cohn. Grant, it is a happy Wednesday in 49ers land.
Man, can I be in 49ers land for a while? That sounds like fun. Happy Wednesday. Cool. Why? Because they keep winning? I can see that. Why? Because they're going to win the Super Bowl? Yeah, I can see that. Because they're one of the best teams of all time. What does that do for me, Rob?
Hey, that's good for business. What do you mean, what does it do for you? That's great. Don't make that face. Don't make that face. Why are you making that face?
No, hey, this has been by far the most interesting season I've ever covered. By far. Best quarterback I've ever covered. Best team I've ever covered. It's an honor to cover this season.
It's a wild ride. And the best part, I think, is yet to come. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to how I think Kyle Shanahan has to manage some big decisions down the stretch here in the last 3 games. We owe a big shout out to Drew Lock and the Seattle Seahawks, which we'll do later in the show as well. So there's a lot going on this Wednesday. First, I just want to give a little bit of love to Community Tree Service, LLC, our new partners here on YouTube. We're so proud and happy to have this partnership. We're excited to announce it, of course. And if you need any sort of landscaping done, they are the people to go to. Tree trimming, land clearing, hazard tree removal, home fire hardening, which I didn't know was a thing, Grant. Apparently that means getting your home prepared for wildfires. I don't have to worry about that in Connecticut, but obviously if you're in California, from the Central Coast up to the Bay Area, they can take care of you. Estimates are free. Call 831-763-2391 or email estimating@cts831.com now to schedule an appointment. If you mention you're a Niners fan, get $200 off on your quote. But if you are a Seahawks, Cowboys, or Eagles fan, it's going to cost you an extra $200. So maybe keep that under your hat. Community Tree Service is licensed by the California State License Board, license number 1100816. All right. I'm interested in how Kyle Shanahan manages things down the stretch, Grant, because the win by the Seahawks changed everything for the 49ers. Because if the Eagles had won that game, then it's very simple for the Niners. We got to win every game because we're only ahead of the Eagles because of the tiebreaker. So we can't afford to lose. So if you're hurt, you're banged up, you're on the fence, you're playing because we need it. Now, because the Eagles lost, the Niners have a game lead on them. Well, more than a game when you go to tiebreakers, but you know what I mean. You only have to win 2 out of 3 to get the number 1 seed. Doesn't matter which 2 out of 3 you win. Any 2 out of the last 3 victories, Niners are the number 1 seed. So, for example, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave.
This week.
Right. Are they healthy? Can they play? It's a big game against Baltimore, but not really because it's an AFC game. And again, you can afford to lose one. So how do you manage that?
That's a good question, right? Like, obviously, they're not going to punt this game against Baltimore, but would it be irresponsible? Like, if the Eagles had won, it would be understood. All hands on deck. Eric, Javon, you got to play. This game is extremely important. But now it's not. I mean, it is in the sense that they might face the Ravens in the Super Bowl, and it's a big game, and it's a big challenge. But ultimately, not that much is at stake. They could lose it, win the next 2, get the number 1 seed. So would it be irresponsible to tell Eric and Javon, you got to play in this game? Or would the responsible thing for the organization be to err on the side of caution with injured players this week? I mean, they may feel like they don't even have a decision to make, like they have to do that. And I would understand that because if they rush someone like Eric Armstead or Javon Hargrave back, like Javon Hargrave is 300 pounds. He's a hamstring injury. I'm just saying he's a hamstring injury, man. Like that's a 3-week injury. He's 300 pounds. He's not going to magically come back sooner. So if you rush him back and it becomes worse, and we all knew it was a game you didn't have to win, hard to explain it.
Exactly.
Chris.
Shout out to Jason Tillman. We appreciate you. Chris Wadell says, just dropped in to say one thing. MVP, CMC, Purdy debate. Ask yourself, if you had to play the Super Bowl without one of them, which are you choosing? Also, Merry Christmas, guys. Love the content. It's an interesting
We're going to do that debate.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do that debate. Chris, we're going to dedicate it to you. We're going to name a wing in the auditorium for you. You know what I'm saying? You're going to name something after you, Chris.
But just to finish up on what you were just talking about, Grant, I agree. Like, why, if there's any question at all with Javon Hargrave, if he's not 100% locked in, like full go, fully recovered, you can't play him. You cannot play him because even if you lose the game against Baltimore, you're going to beat Washington. The Rams game in week 18 is a little dicier because the Rams look pretty good. Matthew Stafford's playing at a high level. They may be playing for their playoff lives, but I think if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I would say I would rather if I have to force Javon Hargrave to play, I'd rather force him with another couple weeks off to rest in week 18 than I would now against the Ravens in a game that you don't actually have to have.
Also, I mean, you could argue that the Niners should be erring on the side of caution with Armstead and Hargrave, regardless of what happened in this Eagles-Seahawks game, regardless of what their seeding is, because they're a team that can go into Philly and win. They're a team that can go on the road and beat anyone. And what's more important is to have Hargrave and Armstead 100% healthy than to beat Baltimore and get the number 1 seed, frankly. So I think this result just maybe allows the Niners to do the right thing, what they should have been doing anyway. And I would imagine they're going to be smart here. I mean, they've been on the precipice of winning a Super Bowl for so long. I don't think they're going to mess this up.
I don't think they will either. Now, technically, it's possible that the Niners can lock up the number 1 seed this week. What they need Dallas to lose, they need the Eagles to lose, and they need the Lions to lose. It's unlikely, but because the Niners have the last game of the week, they'll know by the time that game kicks off if it's possible for them to lock up the number 1 seed this week. So maybe that factors into it too, right? If the stars align and all of a sudden you're like, wait, we're 1 win away from locking down the number 1 seed with 2 weeks to go in the season, maybe then you do play Hargrave, maybe then you do push it a little bit. So I'd be interested to see how those results play out. Although, just for the sake of full transparency, it's pretty unlikely that happens, that all of those teams lose. The Eagles are playing the Giants, for example. So, that's probably not happening.
I'm accustomed to a hamstring injury being 3 weeks. So Hargrave missed 1. I don't see how he could possibly play against the Ravens. And then, frankly, next week against Washington seems like another game he should miss. And if he's healthy, then maybe he plays week 18. Although, frankly, the Niners might have everything wrapped up and you might give him 1 more week off or just a few series so he's not rusty. But I could see Javon Hargrave not playing again until the divisional round of the playoffs, assuming the Niners get a bye week.
Right, because in the wild card, if they had to play a wild card, you assume he'd be in. Yeah,
I would assume he'd be there. But there's a world where he gets to rest for like another 4 weeks, which would be wonderful.
Josh Duran says James Bradberry is the NFC's new adopted son. Did you see on the final drive for the Seahawks, every completion was on James Bradberry?
Poor James. The word is out.
Deebo called it trash.
Yeah.
Lettuce 49. Can we ask Kyle this week about Brock passing up open deep post routes? JT O'Sullivan has been pointing it out for a couple weeks now. It's true. There's one particular route that for whatever reason Brock hasn't thrown. Now he's made other completions and obviously he's playing at an MVP caliber level, but JT has pointed out that there is one specific deep post route that for whatever reason Brock always turns down even though it's wide open.
I'll watch the JTO stuff and see what I can do.
I loved your question last week when you asked Kyle about Deebo without the ball. I thought he gave you a good answer.
I thought he did too.
I thought it was one of the most interesting parts of the whole press conference. So you're already out there.
It was on our show, right? Yeah. Someone wrote in and said, Grant, ask about this. And I was like, all right, I'll phrase it this way. And I think it was effective because it kind of got Kyle to buy into the premise of like, don't try to act like this isn't a fair point because you brought this up with Christian.
Right.
You made it a point with Christian. So what about Deebo? And I think what they're basically saying is we're trying to make a point. We're trying to make it a point of emphasis. We're trying to work on it here.
And Kyle, he kind of tried to give Deebo a little out by saying, well, he's fully healthy now. But yeah, I think it's clear Deebo takes some plays off. And let's just be totally real about it. As long as he can make the plays he makes when he's not taking plays off, they're going to live with it because he's incredible. And that's just the way Randy Moss said it out loud and everybody got mad. I play when I want to play.
I just think it's funny how Brandon Ayuk did something when he was younger. Like maybe didn't run clear out routes 100%. And so he got pretty much shelved, wouldn't get targeted, had to split playing time with people like Trent Sherfield. Deebo Samuel really loafs it when he doesn't get the ball. And the Niners are like, hey, Deebo, could you please try a little harder? We would really appreciate it. We don't want to push too hard though. It's so funny. But I understand he's so good with the ball in his hands. You don't want to like antagonize him.
As long as
You
you're
just want to antagonize Brandon Ayuk, right? I mean, I'm sorry, I don't get that.
yeah, that's a fair
Yeah.
comparison to make, but I just think that Deebo is so damn good. Deebo's best is better than Ayuk's best. Would you agree?
I think Deebo's best might be better than anyone's best other than Tyreek.
It is wild when it's going good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Josh McClung, YouTube channel member for 4 months. Thank you very much, Josh. If you want to become a YouTube channel member, it's less than $3 a month. You get custom emojis, you get membership badges, you get priority comment response. And if you want to pay an extra $1 per month, you'll get access to our 49ers in 5 before it goes public. As soon as it's done, you will get access to it. So please consider supporting the channel. We always love people that do. Yeah. Shout out to you, speaker. New member fist pump. Josh McClung says, what's the possibility of Purdy and Christian McCaffrey getting co-MVPs? Co-MVPs on the same team?
Not bloody likely. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree. They're more likely to split the vote than to get co-MVPs. Now, if Tyreek Hill can't play for another week and Dak throws up another stinker, maybe that becomes more possible. I don't know, but I think it's pretty unlikely.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if you... I want to do this debate later. I read an article by Ethan Strauss, who writes House of Strauss, who's usually a basketball writer out here in the Bay, but he's dabbling in football. He's really smart, and he contributed to this MVP debate. So I'll now that I've shouted him out, I'm going to steal liberally from his article. Pretend it's my idea. No, it's go read it on Substack, House of Strauss. But anyway, we'll talk about this debate later. Tyreek Hill factors in too. I mean, he's having a phenomenal season, and you could argue he's the best player in the league. And I think if we're going positional value, we have to acknowledge that wide receivers are more valuable than running backs. So that's one thing that he would have over Christian McCaffrey. Anyway.
But I think the fact that he missed the game, obviously. But two, the fact that Jalen Waddle went nuts against a great pass defense in the Jets hurts Tyreek Hill, because everyone said, well, look at their offense without Tyreek Hill.
Without Tyreek. Yeah.
So
now it's like, well, maybe it's just Mike McDaniel.
Maybe it's McDaniel. I don't know.
Maybe it's McDaniel. Yeah, we'll see.
Chris Maldonado, YouTube channel member, says, just got back to Colorado Springs. That Arizona game was freaking awesome. It was like a home game for us. They were pumping noise through the speakers just so the Cards could get some noise. Any word on Sue or Ertz? Yeah, the Sue or Ertz like news is just kind of dried up, and especially Ertz. He's been out there for longer than, well, I guess Sue's been out there all year now that I think about it, but you know, it like heated up for a minute, and now I don't know. We're just waiting, I guess. Have you heard anything about either one of those guys?
I haven't heard anything. I would imagine the Niners are interested, but they're probably not particularly interested, and maybe they've offered him like the minimum. And because the Niners probably feel they have leverage. Like, why should we bend over backwards for you? We're gonna win the Super Bowl. We don't need you that much. Like, we could use a little depth. But we don't freaking need you. So if you want a Super Bowl ring, here's the minimum contract. And I don't know. I wonder if that happened with like Jason Verrett. Like they offered him a spot in the practice squad and it took a month to wrap that up. They might have drove like a real hard bargain. Like, hey man, here's $8. What do you want to do? Something like that. And he's like, all right, man, I'll play for free. I want the ring. Let's do it.
Why wouldn't
Maybe
you?
Zach Ertz will make that decision eventually, because you're not going to get any targets on this team, Zach. What? Not throwing to you.
It's like seat warmers, right? If you could get the dealer to throw them in, great. But I'm not paying money for them.
No.
Chris,
although the little thing that heats up your seat in the car, or like the steering wheel warmer, it's a choice.
See,
quite nice. This kind of thing like Ferris Bueller would appreciate.
It's so choice. I highly recommend
so choice. Yeah.
Chris Wadell says, on the touchdown over Adams, Deebo said himself he wasn't running hard because he didn't expect the ball to come to him. Yeah, he said he didn't think it would be open, and he said the plan was to kind of rope-a-dope them a little bit, but also like maybe it wasn't, and he's just saying that. Who the hell knows?
It just sounds like he was not 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 in the progression, and that's one of the things that's so elite about Brock Purdy is he just intuits where the opening is going to be. He anticipates it, whatever verb you want to use. He's good at it.
He's really good at it.
He's really good at it. Yeah. And that's like the most important thing on this team. If you have these weapons and this coach, 1 or 2 players are going to be open on every pass play. So your quarterback just needs to be able to find the dude and throw it to him accurately, quickly. Hey, this guy can do all 3 of those things. And maybe like avoid a couple sacks every game because you got Colt McKivitz and Spencer Burford protected for you. And he can do that too. So what more do you need from a quarterback? Oh, and he's cheap. Cool. Perfect.
It's
perfect.
Ridiculous. Perfect storm right now. And that's why the Niners
when they isolate the traits they need at their quarterback, it's like super duper available, cheap traits. And maybe they'll decide to give Brock Purdy $500 million one day. Or maybe they'll decide like, you know what? A lot of guys can do this. They have a long time to figure that out. Because if they give a quarterback $60 million a year, that changes their whole roster structure. Right now, they have this roster where, yeah, Brock's great, but a lot of quarterbacks would look great on this team. Great.
The job becomes different when you pay the quarterback money because you got to nail your draft picks. You have to, because that's your cheap labor. That's your opportunity to get guys whose performance so outpaces their salary. And
no one nails all their draft picks, though. That's the problem.
That's why it's very.
They don't.
Look at the Chiefs.
Including the Niners.
The Chiefs are struggling right now because
they tried.
Kelsey and nothing else on offense. You have
Sky Moore didn't exactly replace Tyreek Hill.
No, he absolutely did not.
Yeah.
Too Much Sauce says the best San Francisco linebacker: Takeo Spikes, Patrick Willis, or Fred Warner. Oh, no disrespect.
Takeo Spikes is in the conversation.
No disrespect.
He's in the team for a few years.
If you're talking best neck, it's Takeo Spikes for sure. I don't know if you've ever
Patrick Willis.
Yes.
The answer is Patrick Willis. Okay. Fred Warner is like a modern linebacker. He's great in coverage, particularly zone coverage. He's like the best I've ever seen at the middle linebacker position. But that's like one of 5 aspects of the positions in terms of like running and hitting and blitzing and stopping the run. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Was just as fast, if not faster, than Fred Warner. And he could smash the hell out of you. Just scary.
I mean, you look what happened to Fred Warner this last week when you took away Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave and he didn't have as much protection up front. All of a sudden, he was kind of flailing all over the field and they gave up almost 250 yards on the ground. I don't know. There might have been a game where the Niners gave up 234 with Patrick Willis on the field, but I just don't remember it.
They did not look good, the front 7. And like you said, they were missing some people, and that's definitely part of it. But I also saw a tweet from Kyle Posey of Niners Nation who pointed out 16 missed tackles last week, 14 the week before, and 12 the week before that. So
Patrick Willis didn't miss tackles, man. He ran you down. And he like whispered in your ear as he took you down, like, you thought you were going to get away from me, didn't you? You thought you were going to get away from me, didn't you? He wasn't like diving for ankles out there, man. He was running through you. Patrick Willis, best linebacker I've ever seen. I don't know. These kids these days don't remember, don't know. Go watch Patrick Willis.
And part of it was he was on bad teams for a little while too. So, he got lost.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing with him, Vernon Davis, Frank Gore. Like, they were not necessarily helped by their scheme or supporting casts, and they were still great.
ESPN.com has a huge Frank Gore story right now, all about Frank and his son and Frank's career. Cool. And they go into some depth. Frank played his last game with the Jets. He had a lung contusion. No, didn't matter. He's staying in the game. 39 years old. Like, absurd, just ridiculous Frank Gore stories. You should go and check it out.
Lung contusion?
Yeah. It's like a car accident injury. Brock Purdy's ball says MVP voting went to ranked choice last year. Yes, it did. So a lot of guys could give Purdy an MVP vote, but maybe they give him a second place vote because they give the first place vote to Tyreek Hill. So it becomes the system now where, your first place vote gets X number of points, your second place vote gets this number of points, and then they add up all the votes, and whoever wins that wins the award.
Thank you, Brock Purdy's balls. That was very...
Chris Wadell said that play of Willis running down the Cardinals wide receiver to the sideline was amazing. Yeah, I think that was Willis's rookie year. You can Google it or YouTube it. I've watched it. Not now. This is our time. But you can Google the play, and receiver for the Cardinals catches a pass, and Patrick Willis comes from like the line of scrimmage and chases him down like 50 yards down the field. It was just absurd.
He was so fast. I've never seen a linebacker move as fast as Patrick Willis.
And his story is incredible. Didn't have like running water as a kid, grew up very poor circumstances, just unbelievable story. Let's get to the question from Chris Waddell from earlier. MVP debate, Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. If you had to play the Super Bowl without one of them, which are you choosing, Grant? I know who I'm choosing.
Without one of them, obviously it's got to be the running back. I mean, it's just football. And as great as Christian McCaffrey is, he's pretty much an elite running back in every sense. There's nothing he doesn't do well. Well, you can't say that about Purdy. There are certain limitations to Purdy's game, obvious ones. And with McCaffrey, there are no limitations to his game. Best running back, best offensive weapon in the league, potentially. But he's a running back. He's a running back. And the Niners have other good running backs, including Deebo Samuel. You could we haven't seen it yet, but you could conceivably take Christian McCaffrey out, still have plenty of weapons, plenty of defense, and an MVP quarterback. You take out Purdy, and all of a sudden you're on 3rd and 7. You're asking, hey, Sam, make a play? Like, no, absolutely not. And this is the point that Ethan Strauss was making in his article. Like, football is very, like, if you compare it to basketball, there's all these possessions, and they're all essentially the same. I mean, you have an opportunity to score 2, 3, 4 points. In football, like, 3rd down is so much more important than the other downs. It determines whether you keep your drive going or not. And there's only so much a running back can do on 3rd down. You look at Christian McCaffrey, he's good in short yardage, but as a receiver, he has 5 first down catches this season. 5. Like, that's just, a running back just can't make that kind of an impact on 3rd down, but Purdy can. Freaking Purdy can. And he's not throwing, it's not like checking down to McCaffrey every time on 3rd and 7. No, he's throwing to Ayuk past the sticks, Jennings past the sticks, Deebo, Kittle. Like, that is Purdy. And he's way better at it than Jimmy. I mean, that's really where he shows his value. So yeah, it's Purdy, man. He needs to be the MVP.
I would agree. As good as Christian McCaffrey is, quarterbacks affect the game more than running backs. Even all-time great running backs like Christian McCaffrey, they don't affect the game as much as your quarterback. He's the only guy other than the center that touches the ball on every single snap. You know, if you have a bad offensive line, it can be tough for a running back to do anything. But we've seen Brock Purdy with shoddy pass blocking a lot of the times. Like that play last week, that long touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey, right? A pass that maybe some other running backs wouldn't be able to catch and get up and run for a touchdown. Purdy makes the play happen because Jake Brendel gets destroyed off the snap. There's pressure right up the middle, and Brock doesn't even finish his drop and spins out of it, rolls to his left, and finds McCaffrey. Brock makes that play. Even as good as McCaffrey is with the catch and all that stuff, none of that can happen unless Brock avoids the rush, rolls out, and makes the throw downfield. So to me, it's Brock. If I had to choose one or the other in the Super Bowl, I want Brock in there.
Absolutely. I'm just looking up some numbers real quick. Brock Purdy splits. So on 1st and 2nd down, which is really where the Niners, every team should be thriving, because that's when you have deception. Are you going to run? Are you going to pass? Don't know. Defense is on its heels. He's great. 121 quarterback rating on 1st down, 126 on 2nd down. On 3rd down, it's just the defense all of a sudden has the advantage. His quarterback rating is still 104. Ooh, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. I mean, I wanted to look up like where he ranks just in terms of 3rd down passer rating, but that you can point to right there as him being his value. That's a pure passing down. There's not much Kyle can do for him on that down. People have to get open. He has to create enough time in the pocket behind bad pass protection and make anticipatory throws down the field. Like, it's hard. We saw Alex Smith basically turn that down for a long time on this. He's like, I'm going to throw a pick. I'm not doing this. I'm checking down. A lot of quarterbacks are like, I don't want to do this. I'm going to get benched if I try to actually convert this 1st down. Brock is so not like that. He's really good. He's really good.
And that's when you face the toughest, most exotic defenses, also 3rd down. If you're watching on YouTube right now, I just threw a chart up on the screen from Computer Cowboy on Twitter. The x-axis on the chart is your pass protection, and the y-axis is your EPA per play, I believe. EPA per play. And if you look, Brock Purdy is not that far on the x-axis. He's in the bad pass protection area of the chart, and yet his EPA per play is still higher than anybody else in the league by a lot. So that tells you he is thriving despite shaky pass protection.
Yeah. I don't know. We saw a glimpse of Sam Darnold in that game last week. He's not Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has this calmness about him. He makes everything look so easy. And maybe that's partly why people think anyone could do what he does on this team. But then Sam Darnold comes in and he's got this frenetic energy. He's missing throws high. And you remember like, oh yeah, like that's the same damn Sam Darnold I've seen a million times. And then you remember what Jimmy Garoppolo looked like on this team. So jittery when he had to hold the ball for more than a second and a half.
Yep.
And then you appreciate, like the fact that Brock makes it look easy is part of what makes him good.
It works against him because he does make it look so easy that people think it is easy and it's not. Lettuce49 says, I choose Purdy over CMC after seeing Sam Darnold throw that one pass. Yeah, a lot of people have pointed that out. Fafita says, it's more crucial for Brock Purdy to get MVP than CMC because that'll give him some background cred for the hating sports media. Christian McCaffrey is already well established. Yeah, I do feel like if he wins the MVP, you can't really call him a game manager at that point, right?
No. And just because he can manage the game doesn't mean he's just a game manager. I mean, Kyle Shanahan he said it, right? He's like, look, he has made so many plays for us the last few years. If you actually watch, he doesn't look like a playmaker, but he makes plays every week. It's remarkable.
The term game manager implies that's all you can do, that you can't make plays. That's why it doesn't apply to Brock, because yes, he manages the game well, but also does the other stuff that those other guys you're talking about do so well. Mike Baker says great athletes make things look easy that are not. As we've talked about with Brock, he absolutely does do that.
Yeah.
Theo says, is it bad that I'm not rooting for Brock's MVP campaign because I don't want him to have leverage on the team come his contract renewal? I think that's
over with. That's over with. Back up the Brinks truck. He's getting paid.
Yeah, he's going to get paid.
But he'll give the Niners a discount.
Yeah, right.
His agent's going to be real charitable.
I don't know who his agent is. I'd be interested.
I'll find out.
He's already got to be digging. I'm sure that agent is already putting together the binder, right, of all the reasons why you've got to pay this guy. And look, the Niners.
I mean, if he isn't, there's going to be 8 other agents that'll call up Brock and be like, yo, your agent sucks. Let me work with you. So, yeah, his agent is a guy named Kyle Strongen, Strogin, Kyle Strongen.
And let me just say this. It is a dirty game. If you think that there are not agents out there that haven't reached out to Brock Purdy, hey, maybe switch to me. I'll get you paid. Look at this contract. I got this guy. Yeah. That has absolutely been happening. I am sure. It's not supposed to happen, but I'm guaranteeing you that it has.
Like, it's not the agent's job to go to Brock Purdy and be like, hey, man, you should give the Niners a deal, man. Give them a break. I'm a big Niner fan. I think it would help their salary cap structure. His job is to be like, I'm going to get you every freaking cent that you deserve plus. And if I don't, fire me, man, because that's my job.
Not from the Niners. I'll get it from somebody else.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I don't know if it was Peyton Manning or Kobe Bryant, maybe both. They said, it's not my job to manage the salary cap. It's your job. It's my job.
I like that.
The most money.
Yeah.
They're right. They're absolutely right.
It's also not my job to negotiate. It's my agent's job, and he's good.
Yeah.
And he has one goal.
Brother Bob.
Yeah, I'm on later today. I'm on later today. 1 o'clock with Larry, 6 o'clock with Jesse. It's a Mondo day because the Niners don't practice today. They play on Monday. So instead of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week.
He's got a little a comment at the end there that I've seen a lot of 49er fans say. Enough with the MVP. I want the Super Bowl win. You can have both. You don't have
December.
to choose between either or. Obviously, if I had to pick one, we know which one we would pick. But we can have both. I want all the nice things, Grant.
There's just not a lot to talk about with the Super Bowl right now. Like, yeah, they're probably going. They haven't made it. They have to go through the NFC first. We don't know who they're going to face. Like, we can't preview that game just yet. We'd love to.
Right.
Brother Bob.
And we may be seeing a preview of it on Monday.
We may be.
Which is, just giving me horrible flashbacks to 2012. But we don't need to drive down those memories just yet. Chris Wadell is back. He says, Brock also leads the world when under pressure. Defenses can sell out to stop a running back. There's sellout to shut down a good quarterback. There's no sellout to shut down a good quarterback, maybe, I think is what he meant to say. And yeah. Brock is good when you try to blitz him. You try to send people. He's proven he eats against the blitz. So I don't know. It's why he's so valuable.
All I want to say is with this MVP debate and this is a crucial week for the 49ers because if you think about it, whoever wins this game this Sunday is probably going to win the MVP. If the Ravens win this game on Sunday, Lamar's going to win the MVP because people are going to say like, oh my God, he beat the 49ers. What an accomplishment. So, I mean, if the Ravens win, you could have Lamar as the MVP, John Harbaugh as the coach of the year. There's a lot at stake in terms of perception with this one game when really there's not that much at stake. Like we said at the beginning of the show, the Niners could lose this game, win the next 2, get the number 1 seed, face Baltimore in the Super Bowl and destroy them. That could absolutely happen.
Yes. Well, I mean, look, we've seen the 49ers dominate the Rams in the regular season and lost to them in the NFC Championship game. So,
but they're at home. They have an extra day to prepare.
Right.
It would behoove the 49ers to win this game.
And getting the number 1 seed, think about what it would mean from them just from a scheduling standpoint, right? So you're at home this week against Baltimore. You have one more road game across the country in Washington on New Year's Eve. And then you're home against the Rams to close out the season. If you get the number 1 seed, then you're home for the divisional round, you're home for the championship round, and you have a short trip to Vegas for the Super Bowl. Like, if you get the number 1 seed, you're traveling. You're almost done traveling for the year.
I want to say something. I want to look way ahead to the Super Bowl. Okay, so last time the Niners were in the Super Bowl, it was where?
I don't remember where it was in 2019.
Miami.
Oh, okay.
Okay, quite a place to party. There were some rumors that maybe some of the 49ers were a little, not lost in the sauce or too much sauce, but just were sort of like
enjoying
the lights. Yeah, and so now you got Vegas. Man, how serious is this team? When they go on the road, Kyle Shanahan has them stay in like West Virginia and stuff like that. He's like avoiding he had stayed at the Air Force Academy one time. Like, we're not socializing. Okay, you're in Vegas now for a whole week. It didn't go great in Miami. What's going to happen? Are you the 4th oldest team in the league? What kind of focus are you going to have? You haven't made it yet. But that's a factor.
I didn't hear that rumor. How have I gone all this time without
I heard a rumor from a birdie that there was some, I don't know.
Shenanigans.
I don't know. I don't know about shenanigans, but just certain players not being fully focused.
Mm-hmm. Well, there goes my smile. Fafita's back, says they couldn't win the game, the NFC Championship game, with just CMC and Brock out. They smacked the Eagles this year with Brock back in. Brock is more important MVP. Yes, it wasn't just the fact that Brock was out. They also ran out of quarterbacks. So I don't know that.
Well, Josh Johnson wasn't doing nothing. And frankly, sorry, Josh, Sam Darnold, from what we saw the other day, he wasn't going to beat Philly in Philly last year. I don't think.
Trash. Like, Haberman and Middlecoff are sitting there like, well, when Brock was out, I was kind of excited to see Sam Darnold. Why? I was kind of interested too. Like, is this going to look any different from the Sam Darnold we've seen for years and years and years? And the answer was a resounding no. Why would you think it would be? He is who he is at this point.
Because Kyle told us, and a lot of us want to trust him because he's so smart. Sometimes I feel like he's just saying things to make people feel better. Like, I don't know. What the Sam Darnold you saw Sunday was the greatest thrower of the football that the 49ers have ever had. Remember Matt Mayoko said that? And Kyle kind of backed him up a little bit. Like, yeah, that's a thing that people said. He's not even. I don't understand that at all. The Niners gave this dude like what? $5 million? Why? For what? What they really should have done is just draft another quarterback on day 3. Why would you not do that? You should do that every year. You're good at it. You like invented it. Do it.
I think they'll.
You know what you want.
Well, they're going to have to draft one this year because Sam's a free agent again.
Yeah.
And so you're going to need one.
Don't sign a freaking vet. Like, bring in another guy like that. I don't know.
Preacher says, do you think that Brock will accept an Ohtani type of pay structure? Do they do deferred money in football contracts? I actually don't know.
I don't know that they do deferred money in football contracts.
I don't think it is.
I don't think they do.
I think somebody would have done it by now. Like, we would have heard about it by now.
Yeah.
Brother Bob says, I don't want MVP if there's no Super Bowl win. Big facts. Yes, obviously. Of course. I don't think that's controversial.
Big facts.
The Super Bowl is
not little facts.
Right.
Not medium-sized facts. Big facts. All caps. I'm with you, man.
Yes. Winning.
Greenlaw, little decorum Bob. So he used to be brother MF and Bob.
Yeah.
But my dad got like all serious about it yesterday and was like, could you have a little decorum, please? People are watching this. So he was like offended. And so now he changed his name. Thank you, Brother Bob.
Appreciate that. Bryant Culp, YouTube channel member, says, shout out to Quality Control. It's working. Yes, thank you for
the story of the season. The integration of quality control and football operations. Better than ever.
If we just listen to Grant for all these years, right? I think that's what this
it's not like that. It's no, I don't want to paint it like that. Quality control has all the answers. It pushes the right buttons. It's different. It's different. Quality control doesn't have to be right. Kyle has to be right. What quality control has to do is get the best out of Kyle. And if that's telling him he's not the best or he's not doing something right or he should consider doing something differently, whatever it is, all I know is that quality control, whoever that is, has been pushing the right buttons at the right time. And the results speak for themselves.
Fafita says, we all know Brock is such a humble guy, but will he be humble and take a lower contract that he deserves to help the team? Money changes people sometimes. I don't.
Who said Brock's humble? Pardon.
Right.
Who said Brock's humble? And what?
He's not humble.
He's a professional quarterback. They all have healthy egos. And I'm not saying in a bad way, but like humble how? What, because he went to a farm? He rode in a tractor. Have you met Brock Purdy? Like, Brock Purdy believes in himself. Have you heard him talk about himself? Yeah, he's humble, kind of.
Brock Purdy should take no discount whatsoever. Take nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Hell no.
Let's just set that
He's
expectation.
taking the discount now.
Right. Yeah, right. That's exactly right. He's underpaid right now by a massive, massive amount. You are already getting
the way he dresses. It's like a statement. Like, don't expect me to dress up. Or I have a freaking roommate. Okay, I'm budgeting. I went to Kohl's. I might splurge and go to H&M later this month.
JC Penney collection. Garrett Breeden says Lamar is a little bit overrated in my opinion. Purdy's a better pure quarterback who throws as a better ball. Brock Purdy's not
pure quarterback.
Brock Purdy's not better.
I love when people throw the word pure before like a position, like a better pure point guard, pure quarterback. What does that mean? Lamar has the ball in his hands. He can beat you in a lot of different ways. All the ways count when you lose because his record's really good. So he's not a pure whatever. Call him what you want to call him. Just you lost.
Yeah, Lamar is better than Brock. And that doesn't mean Brock's not good, but Lamar is the youngest unanimous MVP in the history of the NFL. That's Lamar Jackson. He can run.
I just think if the Niners called up the Ravens and said, "Well, 1-for-1 swap, Purdy, Lamar," they'd be like,
"Well, Brock's a lot cheaper." But if you I'm just saying, take the contracts out of it. Compare them as players. Lamar is better. Lamar is awesome. He's so freaking good. I'm so nervous about the game Monday. He's just he's such a threat. He's like Mahomes in that he squeezes every drop of possibility out of every play. There's never a play with Lamar where he just drops back and he's like, it's not there. Let me throw it away. There's nothing. That doesn't exist with him.
No. I like the way you put that. Squeezes every drop of possibility out of every play. That was really well put.
Thank you.
And that's exactly what I like watching about him. And I think Purdy has a lot of that too.
Yes. Absolutely.
He has a lot of that too. Jimmy Garoppolo once he figured out once he learned the rule that you're allowed to throw the ball away, man, he was all about that. Should I leave him alone now? Is enough?
It's just the more we look back on it, we're like, it was so bad. It was,
and we weren't hard enough, man. Like we were always like, can I respectfully say that Jimmy Garoppolo isn't as good as people think? Like, nah, man, we should have been saying that from the mountaintops, like the Ricola man. Ricola, Jimmy Garoppolo, fraudulent.
Jimmy sucks. He couldn't even last half a year as a starter without Kyle.
Nah. If we had said it louder, maybe the Raiders wouldn't have given him $73 million. Like, for what? For who?
Chris Wadell says Lamar for MVP is dumb. Production isn't even in the same ballpark as Purdy. He will get love though for MVP if the Ravens beat the Niners on Christmas. You're absolutely
He's 56-19 in his career.
He's only lost one game to the NFC ever.
What?
Right?
And that's the thing with the Niners too. Like, man, they're a juggernaut, right? Yeah, they're 9-1 against the NFC. They're 2-2 against the AFC. So this is the best team the AFC has to offer right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see what this looks like. This Baltimore team is way more physical than the most physical team in the NFC, other than the Niners. Like way more physical than Philly.
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
And they're physical.
Way better than Philly.
They have versatile linebackers. They have a Kyle Hamilton, who's a safety, who's a freaking terror back there. Like,
hell of an offensive line.
I think if you had to construct the team to beat the 49ers, it's the Ravens. That's why the game on Christmas is going to be so much fun. Chris Waddell says, funniest thing Stats has ever said talking about Darnold working with Ward. It makes sense because he's great at throwing to defenders. Yeah, that was my joke about Sam Darnold. It's like he's completely comfortable throwing passes to defenders. So good on Mooney Ward for hooking him up.
You know how Brock has all this inner confidence that's just perpetually surprising? Sam does it. Sam doesn't have that. And he's on the field. It's like, buddy,
Right. Sam doesn't even believe Sam.
Take it easy. Take it easy, man. Like Brock makes it look real easy. Relax.
Well, so you mentioned Drew Lock a little while ago. And by the way, Brother Bob says, stats, not every take has to be controversial. I roll. Well, then come with better takes. What can I tell you, Bob? Sorry. You mentioned Drew Lock the other night. After they beat the Eagles, he gives this awesome post-game interview, and he talks about how, like, he kind of doubted if he could play anymore, and he was so pumped up and so excited because he kind of proved that he could play. Like, he still had the belief that he could do it. I don't think Sam has the belief. I think Sam is out there like, I should be able to do it, but I don't know. We'll find out. Brock obviously has that belief, and Drew Lock apparently still has it too.
Yeah, I feel like, he started off playing his career for Vic Fangio, and I don't know what happened. You play for a kind of an anal defensive coach. A lot of times they kind of turn you into a game manager. Hey, buddy, we don't trust you. Check the damn ball down. As you see with Drew Lock, he has a great arm. He can really sling it down the field. And I don't know what they're doing in Seattle, but it seems like they've built up some of his confidence. Pete Carroll isn't a particularly good coach, but he's not going to kill your confidence. And now it seems like this is the next young, relatively cheap quarterback who could start. Like, imagine if Seattle had just said, Geno, thank you so much. We're going to let some other team give you $50 million. We're going to roll with Drew Lock this year and give $50 million to a tight end or a D end. They'd be so much better. And they didn't do it. They will next year, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Drew Lock is that great, but I think I would much rather pay or not even pay, but just get someone like Drew Lock, pay other people around him, and roll the dice and take my chances and continue to keep looking for that quarterback than to pay a Geno Smith or to pay a Daniel Jones with the Giants. No.
Everyone knew Daniel Jones wasn't worth that money. And they found out the hard way immediately. Everyone knew Geno Smith wasn't worth that money. The Drew Locks are a dime a dozen. You could have 3 Drew Locks on your team and pay them less than $10 million. Why would you not do that? I just think, unless you have Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, one of those legit Josh Allen, 5 guys, man, you should not be spending money on quarterbacks. You should not be spending money on quarterbacks. The best you'll be is Minnesota.
I think there are teams, and I think the 49ers are one of them, and fell into this trap after 2017 with Jimmy Garoppolo, where you have been in quarterback purgatory for so long that anytime you get a guy that shows any sort of semblance of anything, you're like, we can't lose this guy. I can't go back to
the one
that was. And so you end up paying guys that don't deserve it.
Right, because you feel like you've reached this new level as a franchise. We're at this level of quarterback play. We're not going back. Like, man.
Right. It's like somebody that just got
stop looking for validation, quarterback validation.
Brother Bob says, Iglet, what positions do the Ravens have edge or push?
I mean, on defense, they have these linebackers and this safety that really makes them match up with the Niners offense. They have Marlon Humphrey. They could put him on Deebo or Ayuk. If they want to shut down Ayuk, they could kind of do that. And then on offense, it's all about Lamar. The Niners, like Nick Bosa is undisciplined. Sometimes he gets it. He made a big deal about sacrificing his stats against the Eagles. I mean, he really talked about it. But then the next week against Kyler, he went right back to how he always plays and let Kyler. He's the one that opens up the scramble lanes. And I want to see how he does against Lamar. We'll see. Nick, I'm calling you out, Nick.
Lamar is a hell of a lot faster than Jalen Hurts, too. He might not be faster than Kyler Murray, because Kyler Murray is still, even now, coming back off that ACL, he still looks like friggin' lightning fast.
You know those videos of like Babe Ruth and like the old baseball players running around on home runs, but it's kind of sped up, and they're like, that's what Kyler Murray looks like.
Right.
With the little quick steps.
Yeah, he has those little tiny little steps like Darren Sproles back in the day. Frank Tom Ocean says, Grant, do a Darnold impression, please. Okay,
he has this like, I'm not very good at it. I haven't done it in a while, but he has this startled expression when he's at the podium, which hasn't been in a while, where he's kind of like, like he's just like someone farted, but he doesn't know who it was. You know what I mean? He's like, Darnold. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He has that smell the fart face. Maybe he's smell the fart acting. If you know what I'm talking about.
Maybe he just farts a lot. Who knows?
Maybe he farts a lot.
Bob says, you're right, Stats. Here's a take. Levin is 100% better than Stats. Well, you're on the minority on that one, brother Bob. Look, he's all mad at me because I disagree with his MVP Super Bowl take. Sorry. Like, that's how I feel about it. A lot of people
I mean, I agree with them too. It's just that we can't talk about that yet. I wish we could.
Mike Baker says, I acquired a sports almanac from the future. The 49ers Super Bowl. Did you bet on it? Or
there it is.
Now, right?
There it is. There you have it.
It's so I was saying this earlier this week. You know, the Niners have been talking about this number 1 seed forever, since the beginning of the season. And then they were like, wait, we got to shut up about this number 1 seed and focus on actually winning games. And now I feel like they could see it, right? They see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's right there. It's okay to talk about it now and focus on it now because they're 3 weeks away from it. And so I think they're going to go into overdrive this week and lock it down. I expect Hargrave and Armstead to play on Monday. I think Kyle's throwing him into the pool, and I think it's going to be, we just want to lock this thing down as soon as possible.
And I think a lot of players on the Niners realize that this is their best opportunity to win a Super Bowl. Like, yeah, Brock Purdy's young, and they could have a Super Bowl window for a while he's there, but this is an old team. And for Armstead, Hargrave, Kittle, Charvarius Ward, a lot of guys, they may see like, this is it. And I feel like you're seeing a lot of players play their best right now. Like, who the hell is Charvarius Ward? All of a sudden, what? Where was this, man? Like, I know he's good, and it must be tough to have this kind of motivation when you get paid like that every week, but now it's time, and he's like digging deep and playing better than I've seen a cornerback play on the Niners since I was like 7 years old, man.
Yeah.
Playing really well.
Since Deion. He's the best corner the Niners have had since Deion Sanders, and it's really not all that close.
It was just like 2 months ago. We were like, man, would you actually make a play on the ball? What are you doing, Charvarius? Now it's like, oh, pardon. Yeah, gotcha. You're the best.
King Geo says, you said Brother Bob has bad takes, then said Kyler is faster than Lamar. I agree that Lamar isn't what you're making it out to be. I think Kyler Murray might be faster than Lamar Jackson. I don't know what they're 40.
I don't know about faster, but those first few steps, Kyler's just, I don't know. He's just instantly at top speed because his legs are this long.
According to a report by the Oklahoman, Kyler Murray reportedly ran a hand-timed 4.38 40-yard dash. That would not surprise me. And Lamar Jackson's 40-yard dash was 4.34. So technically, Lamar is faster than Kyler Murray, although I think they're so close that you could say it's a wash, but they're both ridiculous.
Good knowledge. Good to know.
Yeah. Kyler Murray, don't forget, drafted in the first round in football and baseball. That's insane.
Yeah.
How good of an athlete you have to be.
Top 10.
Yeah, right.
In both sports. Who else did that?
So, anyway.
Where was Bo Jackson drafted in baseball? Like, let me look it up.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I mean, those are like the only two players to be like crossover success. Well, Bo actually played baseball. But.
And supposedly Bo was freakishly ran the fastest 40-yard dash time ever, right? Isn't that what people used to say?
Like 4.1, something like that. Yeah.
He was first Bo Jackson was drafted first overall in the 86 NFL draft, but refused to play.
Yeah, but he refused to play.
Because the Bucs were trash. I don't know when he was actually where he was actually drafted.
Yeah, I don't know.
The baseball.
I'd like to know.
105th overall, I think.
4.13 electric time. Yeah, dude.
4.13.
Guy was not human, man. Bo Jackson. Yeah. And that's why when people talk about like greatest running backs of all time, people don't talk about Bo Jackson because he didn't play that long, but just best athletes at their peak. There's no one like what Bo. There needs to be more like 30 for 30s on the Bo Jackson experience because wow, what an amazing story that dude was.
6'1", 230. By the way, this isn't like a 5'10" guy. Like he was
nah. The most physically gifted running back ever. Maybe the most physically gifted athlete ever. Bo Jackson.
Did you see the clip of him? He was on a baseball field somewhere, I forget, and he was talking to one of the players' kids, and he was like, "Do you know who I am?" And the kid's like, "No," because of course Bo Jackson, retired a million years before the kid was even born. And he's explaining to the kid, he's like, "Yep, I played for the Raiders and I played for the Royals at the same time." And the kid's like, "Wait, at the same time?" And he's like, "Yeah, at the same time." This is just ridiculous athlete.
Bo Jackson was drafted in the 4th round by the Royals. So I don't know another player like Kyler who was the first pick in NFL and he was a top 10 pick in baseball, was he not? Ace took him top 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
Oakland
was.
A's draft Kyler Murray.
The only player I can remember that was ever drafted in the first round of multiple sports was actually Scott Burrell,
Ninth.
playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
From Hamden, by the way, my town that I live in. So shout out Scott Burrell, but he wasn't drafted as highly as Kyler was in both. Christian Ayala says, I don't know why, but Ronnie Bell playing punt returner. Yeah, I'm all set with Ronnie Bell at punt returner, Grant. We need some quality control there. Ask Kyle if he's.
The thing about Ronnie Bell is I think he's going to be a really good wide receiver. He's a good route runner. He makes good catches. I mean, he makes difficult catches away from his frame. He needs to stop. I mean, Ayuk wasn't a good punt returner either. I thought he would be. He was good in college. Maybe Bell was in college, but those guys both need to stop.
Or just don't put anybody back there for punt returns. Don't put anybody back, and then they can't fumble, Kyle. Just go for the block every time.
That's a good point.
Juice is the backup, is the other punt returner. And I say that in seriousness. Apparently, he practices all year long, and he's not that bad at it. But I get nervous.
How about Brock Purdy?
Shut up.
How about McCaffrey?
Chris Wadell says, you guys see Charvarius Ward has been targeted the second most in the league. Surprised me with our corner turmoil this year. He was getting picked on early in the year. No doubt about it.
Picked on. Yeah. He was playing soft zone coverage. He was getting picked on. Teams came into games wanting to go after him. I mean, do you remember how bad he was against the Vikings? He had a pick early on, but he essentially almost got Steve Wilks fired. He let that pass bounce off his chest. It went for a touchdown. Steve Wilks had to answer for it for weeks, when really Steve was probably being like, Charvarius, you bum. Catch the ball. Ever since then, he has. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's great. Keep it up, man. I love having a guy that can shadow the other team's number one. That's a huge, huge asset for the 49ers. All right, that's going to do it.
Asked him to do that. He raised his game. They challenged him. Man, we signed you to be the best and to cover the best. Are you ready to do that? Or do you want us to play soft zone coverage the rest of the season? And he was like, let's go. I respect that.
It's free agent next year, too. So he's got that one more time. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thank you for watching. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Like and subscribe to both YouTube channels, the Gold Standard Network YouTube channel and Grant Cohn's YouTube channel. Please and thank you. Grant, what do you got going on the rest of the day? I know you mentioned it before.
Yeah, the Niners are off today because they play on Monday. So I'll be streaming with Larry at 1 and Jesse at 6. So a trifecta today.
Damn. So there you go. Check that out on Grant Cohn's YouTube channel. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.